Hello everyone. Welcome to Dean's Story World. Our today's story's name is Riches Shown to Rags, and it's about a girl named Pooja. Hi guys, I'm Pooja. At 26, I'm a regular girl who takes a lot of pride in my beauty. I have done B.Ed, and before COVID struck, I was teaching at a school as well. But being from a middle class family, I have been taking home tuitions since I have completed my 12th. I have always loved my long hair. I love them so much that I have designated 30 minutes after the shower and 30 minutes before sleeping for them. Whenever I take shower, I always go to my balcony to dry out my hair. You know for what? So that all the boys, or I say all the loafers actually, at their balconies waiting for me to come out. All eyes gaze without disturbance when I let loose my beautiful locks from the towel. I enjoy it a lot for them. I make sure I bounce my hair, flipping them left to right, then over my head and bounce on my hips, coming down. I don't know if my love had turned into arrogance, but I did something last week because of which I am in a lot of trouble now. Rakhi joined my tuition classes for 12th students earlier this year. She was the only person I had seen with hair more beautiful and longer than mine, and she loved to flaunt them more than I did. At start, I felt a little jealous, but being a teacher, I calmed myself down. The jealousy grew as the year continued. She would purposely come to the classes with open hair to woo the boys. Even my silly brother, who was in the same class, in between classes, she would make sure her hair falls over her face so she could run her hands over them to show the boys. During COVID, I took a lot of online classes where I would see her to do her regular things again and again. So after the classes resumed, I made a rule for every girl to sit in the class with a bun or braids. No open hair allowed. The reactions from her and other girls were a bit resistive, but I had complained their parents about their behavior, so they followed my rule. Rakhi, however, made sure she broke it every now and then. She wouldn't make secure buns, would always use pencils or pens to secure her huge bun, and would act as if she had taken out pencil accidentally, leading to her tresses falling down over her waist, reaching to her thighs. And then she would smile to the boys as she's very seductively making her bun back. I gave her a minor punishment the first time, giving her a time out from the class. The second time, I complained to her mom and made her sit on the floor during the classes. But it was getting to my head as after every punishment, she would verbally show her displeasure, even calling the rule of no use. And behind my back, she would call it stupid teacher's stupid rule. The jealousy had crept up too specially when a friend saw her with her hair open in class and told me, I thought your hair was beautiful. Look at hers. This was the really last nail in the coffin. I knew she would break the rule again, but this time I would do what is needed. So I waited patiently for a couple of days. She took the classes like a good child. She didn't do any shenanigans. The third day, however, she gave me the chance I was waiting for. Not only did she purposely took out the pencil from her ear, but to show her defiance to rule, she picked out a comb from her bag and started combing her hair to make the bun again. This was it for me. She had given me the chance I wanted. I was a little reluctant too, because a portion of my mind was wondering about the consequences. But I had decided what I wanted to do. So I walked to her, grabbed her by her bun, and started dragging her to the middle of the class. She yelled, even tried to hurt my hands with her long nails. but I kept dragging her. As I reached the middle, I told Saki, one of my favorite students, to place her chair in the middle. I almost threw her on the chair. She bounced on it, almost fell down. You will learn a valuable lesson today. I'll make sure you never defy any rule made by me. I yelled at her. I took off my dupatta, went straight for her waist, tying it tightly to the chair. I then asked Saki and Shubham to bring a rope with which I tied her hands and leg to the chair too. When I turned back towards the other students, everyone looked shocked. If they had their phones in their hand, they would have surely started calling their parents or taking pictures. But I never allowed that to. Before every class, each phone was deposited in my desk. You like combing your hair, right? You? Like flaunting them to the whole class today? You will be the last day you did it. Because after this punishment, you wouldn't dare to do it again. Holding her chin in my hand, I told her. I went to my desk to bring out the tools I had been collecting in past few days for this very day. I had kept them all in a small bag to hide from others. I took out the pen holding what now? What was a very messy but very huge bun over her head. Her hair fell cascading down like a curtain covering the back of the chair, resting down over the floor. What are you doing? Let me loose, you fat bitch, she yelled. I couldn't bear listening to her anymore. But I didn't want to be violent, so I continued my work ignoring her. With my comb, I started making paths from her forehead down to the floor, gently straining all her hair, which has gotten a little messy because is me pulling them. Then I made section 3 on each side. The others and herself probably knew that what was happening as I started making knots. Stop braiding my hair. I had braids, they are for kids. She yelled again, and I ignored her again. I kept making my knots until I had reached down to the floor, tying the last knot. After I had made braids on both the sides, I waited for a second to see my work. Then threw both her braids over her shoulders so they could be in front and everyone could see them. Opening my bag, I took out a big scissors. I had bought the eyes of the girls widened up. Some who hated her as much as me had wide grins over their faces as they saw me taking them out. Looking at the reactions of her friends and enemies, she became anxious as to what I was doing. She tried to get herself free from the chair, but it was of no use. I placed my scissors on the base right over the thick first knot, and the sound that followed really brought silence to the whole classroom. Knack, knack, catch, 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 catch was the only noise, followed by her scream as she realized what was happening. Leaving the scissors having over a half cut knot, I took off my socks and stuffed them into her mouth so she could not scream anymore. I went back to work as if I being controlled by the demon inside. I kept pushing through her thick hair. Natch, 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 making around 10-15 attempts. The first braid snipped off the base. It rested over her shoulders. Short strands touched her ears, but I went back to work to shear down the other one. Natch, natch, catch, catch. The other one fell victim to my scissors, too. I took both braids and placed them politely over her lap. Her face was red with embarrassment, with sorrows. Her eyes red tear covers her cheek when she saw me holding her braids, her beautiful braids in my hand. But I knew I couldn't stop there. I had work to do. In the cupboard, I had a small bowl which I sometimes used. As I didn't have much knowledge about hair cutting, I kept the bowl over her head, then took out the next thing I had ordered, a pair of clippers. The reactions again was similar, other than that of Raki. When I turned them on, she tried jumping on the chair to break free. But I pushed her down. If you move an inch, you will go with only skin on your head. I yelled at her, calming her down. She looked at me, her eyes begging to stop, but I don't know what had gotten over me. I pushed the wet towel over her head. It covered the top of her head and was a few inches above the ears, though most of the back was quite visible. I had never operated clippers before, so I didn't have any knowledge of cords. So I didn't do much. I bent her head down, placed them over the neck, and they pushed through, leaving skin whenever they walked over the head. I made sure only the hair out of the bowl was clipped. I was hoping it would leave some hair, but when the clippers shaved her down to her skin, it actually gave me a bit of happiness. So I kept running them over her head like a mad child with a new toy. When the back below the bowl was reduced to skin, I moved to the side, shaving them to the skin. An inch over her ears, the bowl had stopped, so it was easier for me. I just removed whatever was visible to me. After cleaning up everything in the site, I took off the bowl. By this point, I wasn't myself. I was doing things I would normally never do. But Raki had pushed me and herself towards it. The hair in front was still a bit longer, so I combed down her bangs. Using my clippers, I tried matching the length on the sides and clipped off the extra inches from her bangs. I stood in front of admiring my work. Half an hour ago, when the class started, she was Rapunzel with her long, beautiful locks. Now, she had what we call a catora cut, or others call a bowl cut, with everything others than that over the top and a few inches over her sides. And the crown was shaved clean. Anyone who dares to defy me or to break the rules like her would get the same punishment, I announced, standing beside her, running my hands over her shorn scalp. The class was over. I brought her back to her united, untied her. She had nothing to say. She was just crying. I kept her tails with me and allowed her to leave. I heard her crying all the way down the stairs as she ran away. The consequences are to be paid, though. I'm in the same chair now, tied, hard, waiting for my punishment. To be continued in the next part. So, hey everyone, if you like the story, so please like it, share it, and subscribe to our channel. So, till for the next time, it's bye.